Well, I guess that we are live. I got my Twitter notification.
Ah, see, Twitter's so fast about that. Elon and his satellites and rockets and all that other cool stuff that he has. I haven't even got a notification yet from Facebook or YouTube.
Well, they're probably just now trying to get everything, their servers and all turned on because they said, "Hey, Rex and Duke are trying to get their show going. We better let's get everything going."
Yeah, they better hurry up. So what are we on? Show number 204.
Yeah, it's we can't say we're amateurs anymore, right? We can't
Yeah.
do that.
I guess I've always defined professional as somebody that makes more than 50%, or I've always kind of used the number 60% of their income from a profession. So if I was going to be a professional painter, I would need to paint and generate income or revenue from that primarily. Well, this is
We don't make no
basically
money off of
going,
this.
yeah, it's going the other way. It's like the show was the professional thing and we're not, because while we do get a few donations here and there and we've sold a couple of hats and all that sort of thing, and we do make a little bit of money from Facebook. It's just enough to kind of pay for the cool software we use and all the cool toys.
So, basically what you're saying is because we don't make a living and we don't make money off of this, we can still say we're amateurs because to make
Bingo.
money makes you a professional, but if you ain't making money, that means you're an amateur. So we
See,
can still say we're amateurs.
that's exactly the way I look at it. Now, that may be about to change because I actually am about 75% done with our little video and advertising packages that a lot of folks out there, if you own a business and you're a client or friend of mine, you may be receiving to see if we might can put together some advertising. We kind of talked about it and, turn this thing into slightly less amateur. Let's put it that way.
Well, let's talk about that for just a second. That's a good point. So somebody might say, well, you know what? Look, you guys, sometimes y'all have 100 live viewers. I think our highest was what? One time we had like 400 live viewers. Was it
Yeah,
somewhere around there?
yeah. When we said
Something
those
like that.
magic words about this church that's down the street.
It wasn't just then. I mean, plain dealing got up there pretty high when we was
Yeah, it
talking about
did.
plain dealing.
Yeah,
You
Gaddy,
know, but
Gaddy's interview got up there pretty high.
but here's the thing. Once you put it on the internet, what, Rex?
Oh, it's there.
Forever,
Yeah,
right?
right. No
So
takebacks.
everything that has come out of our mouth up to the start of this show and the point, including all the pixels with that Bossier Watch logo, that Acadiana Mortgage logo, the outdoor news, and Pelican training, and all that stuff. It's going to be in those pixels forever.
Ever. Everything we've said, no takebacks.
That advertising is there forever.
Yes, yes, you're right. It's like an ongoing advertising thing. And again, look, we're real appreciative to Acadiana Mortgage, which is, of course, you and Kara. And, we got the outdoor news logo. And so that helps, as you and I try to get the outdoor stuff kind of going. And the Ferrises up there with Pelican Training, they've been helpful and all that, and so we appreciate all that. But you're right; it's an ongoing thing. It's like the advertising never goes away because we're not taking any of the shows down ever.
It will always be there. And so it took me a long time to wrap my head around that and to wrap my head around people doing digital stuff. And I mean, and you got my mind to thinking right about that. And you were so right. I mean, it's about content. And when we talk about a subject, it's not that that subject is appealing to everybody right at that moment, but at some point in the future, nobody knows when that specific content is going to be pertinent to them for whatever reason. 20 years from now, somebody may want to go back and say, what was the deal on that water line to nowhere down there in South Bossier?
Mm-hmm.
What was the promises made? And wait a minute, I know where we can go get that information. And then when they go back, they can say, oh, you know what? Smarter Geek, Acadiana Mortgage, Pelican, those
Yeah,
names are still going to be there.
they're still going to be there. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So anyway, with all that said, we do have some folks joining in, about 30 something, nearly 40 people, and so we're glad to have everybody watching tonight. And look, like we've said since day one, and we're 200 plus episodes in, we're going to keep doing it whether we generate any revenue or not, because I don't know, it's like an every Tuesday night thing now. It's like, like I would feel lonely if I wasn't sitting here every Tuesday night talking to you.
Well, I appreciate that. That I'm not going to say what I was thinking. We might get cut off of all the social media platforms, but we've already been there, done that. They've done that before too. But anyway, that's cool.
Right.
Yeah, it would be like kind of weird. So we got to keep trying to bring people up to speed and knowledgeable about their community, and hopefully to make a difference. Hopefully we can motivate more people to action, because 200, we've done took 200 shots at it and we haven't motivated enough people, because enough people are not doing things. So we got to keep, if y'all want us to stop doing this, you got to start getting involved, because once you get
Right.
involved, then we can go away, we can stop at that
Yeah.
point, I guess we can retire.
Yeah. Or I mean, look, if somebody wants to underwrite the whole thing and fund us, we'll take the chains off and go completely untethered and unleashed, much to the detriment of our wives. But uh, because
Ooh.
it's like my wife says, she has to be careful when we go out to eat, and somebody says, "Hey, aren't you Rex?" She doesn't know whether to jump under the table or what.
Now, you just suggested that up to this point we have been limiting ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm. I well, there's an argument to be made. We've got lots of information that's been shared with us that we have kind of put on the back burner or hadn't had the time and all that to dig into. That there is a lot of
Mhm.
stuff out there.
Maybe there ain't no digging that needs to be done. Maybe we already know the answers to all of that stuff, but maybe we just don't have the motivation to go out there just yet. That's all.
Well, that may be true. Early retirement may be in store if we
So,
did that.
what is on the agenda for tonight?
Well, we're going to talk about. Look, I've got good news for all the school board folks and all the teachers that may be out there, or friends of teachers or school board employees, because it's not just the teachers. Looks like y'all are getting an endless number of pay raises. Is basically the way I heard the finance meeting, and we raised that issue in one of the Facebook posts, and boy, it got a bunch of commentary and shares and that sort of thing. And you said
Yeah,
the city's bumping up pay 10%, so it's like an Oprah Winfrey show. You're getting a raise, and you're getting a raise, and even you in the back, look under your chair, you're getting a
yeah,
raise.
but not so fast, Dano. I'm going to
Uh,
make a recommendation. If you're a popo in Bossier City, you probably ought to go become a teacher, because you'll get a pay raise a whole hell of a lot faster with the school board than what you're going to get in Bossier City.
oh, gee, Queen David strikes again. And then we're going to mention, which we did a post about it, the Bossier Parish Police Jury boat launch down at Lake Bistino. I mean, that's kind of a fishing thing and outdoor news ish related, but it is our Bossier Parish Police Jury and tax dollars and a federal grant. So we're going to talk about that for a few minutes. And I don't know, anything else that we can think about.
Well, and Proton Mail was sure being lit up lately, with a lot of people sharing information, and information about the school board and information about the police jury and that boat launch you're talking about. We had some commentary sent to us. We're going to share tonight, and and Bossier City. What good would a Bossier Watch show be that we didn't mention Bossier City?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we are going to go ahead and go to the countdown and the break. We'll share it out, and because I don't think our little communications thing has been fixed yet, um, how about I'll get Sobo, and then you take a couple other groups. How about that?
Sounds
And
good.
and everybody else, y'all make sure and tag and share people. That is very important to get the views up and those numbers up. So make sure while we're in this countdown and you're grabbing a stiff drink or glass iced tea in my case, and some popcorn, make sure you share the show out or tag a friend. How about that?
Yeah, that arguably helps us more than it helps of even if you bought a coffee cup or you'd made a donation. Sharing and getting people to like the show and follow and tune in, that's more important than anything.
Sharing is caring. Here we go to the countdown. We'll be right back in about 3.5 minutes, folks. Well, anyway, we'll get into it.
You amateur.
If folks knew
a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now. Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist. It cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way, it was not David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David,
did I flip you over to the Bossier Watch profile?
Spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme wheat. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to the border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing. Folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking actions. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and
Friends of Sobo and Friends of Cypress.
Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And here we are. I did not realize how much we actually use, and I missed that little off-air audio microphone system.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a headache when you don't have it, and we kind of coordinate a little bit with that thing. But anyway, so hey, I got to tell you, especially tonight, there was already a circumstance, and we were preparing the show notes. So we're going to talk about school system issues, with the Bossier Parish school system. We're going to talk about Bossier City stuff and the police jury stuff. But I came across something, and I got to tell y'all, it really made me think, because I've been having a lot of introspection on government lately. And because you Rex, me and Colonel Crockett and a lot of us, we've been involved, the term limits thing, and just, we're all about, and what we do here, we're about transparency, and part of our show was putting things out there because, people are scared to put things out there. In fact, one of our proton mails addresses about, teachers not wanting to speak up or say things, because of, I guess, fear of retribution. um, but I came across something, and I got to tell you, it has made me pause just a little bit. And it's that
Really?
YouTube video that I stuck in the first of the notes.
Oh, well,
And
let me,
I know that you haven't watched it either, but I want to play this, and as we go through this show, I want us to kind of think about this because I did not know this. Uh,
okay.
I didn't know this about our country. I learned something about this.
All right, so you've got my interest peaked now, so give me just a second. Let me get this queued up, and matter of fact, just a second. And
I
let me,
think this is going to. I think this is going to gut check a lot of people on your your thought processes on government, especially if you agree. I'm kind of one of those guys that everything should be out there in the open. Everything
right,
should be public. You
right.
know,
I'm the same
and
way.
yeah, so I think this may give you pause.
Hmm.
So play this video. It isn't that long. It's a minute or two. Let's listen to this and y'all think for a second.
Okay, so let me get this thing set up here. I'm sure the audio should be right. Here we go.
Before 1990, the words transparency and accountability were rarely used with respect to government. Sunshine wasn't considered essential. Instead, dating back to Cicero in Rome and Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution, secrecy was viewed as essential to good government. This was especially true with Congress. For the first 200 years, Congress worked almost entirely in secret, and the advantages of closed-door deliberations were well discussed. Alexander Hamilton claimed closed-door sessions checked the power of special interests, and James Madison claimed open-door sessions drove partisanship. It turns out they were both right, and this proof is in the pudding. On October 26, 1970, President Nixon put an end to congressional secrecy by signing the Legislative Reorganization Act into law. Suddenly, the majority of the once secretive congressional committees became open-door affairs. The committee rooms were expanded with galleries. TV cameras were installed, and the lobbyists and the press flooded in. And hot on the heels of Nixon's sunshine laws, just as the framers predicted, special interest capture, campaign finance, lobbying money, and partisanship shot up. At the same time, trust in government plummeted. The logic is clear. Despite all the rhetoric about the benefits of sunshine, political scientists agree that citizens do not follow congressional action. This is partly because the topics are too complex. Taxation, trade agreements, and fiscal policy are topics for PhDs, even though they affect everything we do. There is also too much for citizens to follow. Every member of Congress votes approximately 1,000 times each year on millions of pages of transcripts, hearings, and legislation. As such, even elite citizens, like congressional scholars and transparency advocates, do not follow even 0.1% of this action. But there is one group who follows everything: lobbyists. The best lobbyists are 20-year veterans on Capitol Hill. They have master's degrees in policy studies. They are retired members of Congress or have worked as staffers. Because of this, they are uniquely able to follow what general citizens cannot. And they report back to the wealthy groups that hire them, providing enormous advantages to Amazon, Pfizer, and Shell Oil. This means that the only groups who can stay up to date on transparent proceedings are those with the resources to tilt the scales in their favor. Once informed, these groups go on the attack, pressuring adversarial legislators with the threat of negative ads or challenger funding. They turn minor legislation into hot-button issues, tilting all policy in their favor. As the framers knew, lobbying, partisanship, and campaign finance would virtually disappear if Congress was once again able to work in secret like the framers intended. There is no place lobbyists hate more than the lobby.
Okay.
Okay. So,
So you haven't seen that.
no.
What part of that did you disagree with?
Well, I'd have to go back and watch it a couple more times and kind of analyze it. I mean, it's hard to deny, at first glance at least, the time frame, and I'm the first one to say the math doesn't lie, and the numbers, always tell the story. And when you look at the numbers and the math of the time frame of the Sunshine Laws, and the rise of distrust of government, it's hard to deny. I would argue this point, though, or at least add this to that video, maybe the right way to put it, that the rise of cable news in the 80s and 24/7 news in the 80s, all right, specifically with CNN and cable and the advent of cable television getting away from the three primary networks, that added as much to that, helped fuel that fire. And now we're literally in the information age where we have information at our fingertips. Look, I've said this a bunch. It's not about the phone. The device is not important. It is the data. It is the information flow. The device, this phone or your phone or whatever computer, is just a way to get the data.
Yeah, but the deliberative process of government, to make decisions on what is in the best interest of the community or the country at different levels, and that's the point that I'm making. I mean, look, I have been a transparency guy, and I did not know that, the original, first part of Congress, first, bit of Congress, that they locked the doors, they deliberated, the public and nobody had any involvement in it. And I would contend they made a lot of good decisions. I mean, they arguably, I mean, they made some bad decisions, but
Yeah.
but look, those folks made good decisions. They set the country on the course to be successful, and I would contend that
Oh, wait a minute.
there's a
Hold on a minute.
correlation. There's a correlation. I bet you could take our debt and our GDP correlated against that time frame. I bet it matches up perfect.
Here's what you're forgetting and leaving out. It's like everybody in our generation is griping about the next generation and how they're raised and, blah, blah, blah. While we forget we're literally the ones that sired that generation. Okay? So I would point out this and counter you with this. The framers operated in secrecy as much as they could, and when they weren't meeting in the bars and the pubs. And arguably they needed that because, they were under threat of being beheaded or hanged or whatever from the king. Now, that set in motion the same people that you're talking about. It's like the good old days. Oh, it was the good old days. Really? Sometimes that can be a little, depend on which side of the coin you're on. And my point is this. Those same people set in motion to where we are now. Literally. It's not like the transparency laws just magically came into shape. They didn't just magically happen. Those same people set in motion to where we are right this very minute. Now, let me say one other thing. Because we live in the information age now, and that has been building since the advent of, well, really radio, but really television, and then specifically cable television and the internet and all things social media. Most people view our government as a direct democracy. Newsflash, we ain't a democracy. Franklin's quote was, "A republic if you can keep it," and there is a huge difference in a republic. And so watching that video, which I agree is very interesting, I'm going to go back and watch that several times, but people forget we do not live in a democracy. Generally speaking, we say democracy, but we live in a representative republic, and there is a huge difference in that.
Well, I would contend that we don't live in a representative republic now. I contend we've already lost it. And
Maybe so.
my point is we have lost it because of the lobbyists. We have lost it because of there's no controls on campaign finance, and the whole that video is absolutely correct. Even you and I are kind of on top of politics. We're policy wonks, I guess you could say. We more so that we're not the best, but we're not the worst either. I would say we're kind of in the higher percentile of people that follows legislation and all that stuff. And even we have trouble following it and being able to follow along. The the bottom line is government is not fashioned so that the public can have a role in it today. It's fashioned to the benefit of the lobbyist and special interest.
Well,
And
let me throw
I'm
another
I'm
one in the
just
mix.
I'm just wondering if maybe is going back to the beginning and closing the doors and locking everybody out, you know, is that maybe the answer? Are we wrong? Maybe are we wrong that maybe David Montgomery shouldn't be in the back with the guys making decisions out of sight of the public?
Well,
If
but
you
here's
can,
the other
if
thing
you
is the
can take,
advent of lawyers. So I have zero data right now to back up what I'm saying. So I'm kind of presenting this as a question. What was the profession of most of the government or a large percentage of the government elected officials before, I'm just going to pick a number before, or a date, before 1900 versus afterwards? And so my contention is not only lobbyists. I mean, that's, starting with the correct letter, but you might want to change that to lawyers and attorneys, whose by their very nature are there to make things more complicated, hence the law. But I would also say this: the first income tax form was one page, the front of one page. I had a client who was a CPA, and he had a copy of that in his office framed. The first income tax form was one single page. Now, I ain't no CPA, I ain't no lawyer, I ain't no tax guy. I know you aren't either. It basically takes an army of CPAs and tax people and the IRS and all this other stuff to even begin to comprehend our current tax laws.
well,
Now, the transparency didn't cause that.
let me frame this. Let me frame this way. If you had some elected politicians, would you rather your elected politicians to not have any knowledge of the bills that were going to be presented, and they all showed up to a location? Everybody, let's say Bossier Parish picked their one person, Caddo Parish, every parish in the state picked their one person. And everybody said, hey, we're going to all get together and we're going to meet in Alexandria and the central part of the state, and we're going to all decide the laws for the state. Nobody's going to say what they're going to propose, but they're all going to show up. They're going to get in the one building, the gym. They're going to lock the doors. They're going to all sit down. Each one of them will have the opportunity to propose what they want to propose, and they will all vote on it. It won't be made public so that the lobbyists, special interests, nobody can steer it. Nobody can control it. They're going to meet that one time. Nobody has the ability. They're not going to break, come outside, go consult with the lobbyist and say, hey, what do you think? Or is this, are you going to lose $1 million, or is your stock whatever, you know, or, and they vote with no influence, or,
Well,
or they say, we're going to all meet. We're going to, say what we want to talk about. Then we'll put it out to the public so that the special interests who can then lobby all of the people who will have a vote and steer them to go one way or the other. Is that the better way? Because that's what we're doing
but
now.
well, okay. So I don't really know a good answer to that because it could go either way. But let me posit this.
Well, no, it
Is it
isn't.
really the
Let me.
politician's fault, and is it the fault of transparency, or is it really the lobbyist's fault? Because the politicians can always, the elected officials can always say what 2-letter word to the lobbyists? No, or shut up.
But
They don't have to
but
do what, there's no
they
law that
don't.
says they have to do what the lobbyists say.
But they don't, because the public no longer has the control, because the public
Well,
can't.
but
The public can't. It's too technical. We have gotten too good at government. We have
that
gotten
has
too.
nothing to do with the lobbyists, though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
That
what they
that
do
that
for a
video
living.
that
That's what
video
they do.
mentioned
Who is
and
the
blamed it.
lobbyist for the people? Who's the lobbyist for the people? Full time. We are the best lobbyists for the people, and we do a horrible job. They shouldn't trust us to be their lobbyists. They shouldn't. But special interest
But
has people paid that do it for a living every day, Monday
okay,
through Friday.
but you're missing
The
my
deck,
point, and
the
I'm
deck
trying
is stacked
purposely.
against the public.
I don't disagree, but I'm trying to say this without actually saying it. Why do the lobbyists have any power at all? Because the video blamed the rise of lobbying on transparency. You've mentioned it, and I don't disagree. But why do the lobbyists have any power over elected officials? Why? Because
That's
the elected
true.
officials are weak. That's why.
Well, that is one. That is, but we just sent Walk on Water, and he's now the Speaker of the House. And you tell me whether or not he is doing the bidding of conservatives or not. I contend he's not. You may disagree. You may think that, well, he can't. He's got no choice. It's the deck is stacked against him. He's got to do what he's got to do. But the bottom line is if you cut the lobbyist out, if the people are going to go in a freaking room and the deliberations are closed off to the public and the lobbyist can't steer the elected official, regardless of whether they're a good politician, a good person, bad person, if the lobbyist has no way to connect to them and no way to steer them, that's got to be a better process. And I would contend history shows we've done a horrible job at government over the last, I'm going to say my lifetime.
It's because the politicians are weak. I would argue, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not transparency. It's because we have weak-kneed politicians. Let me give you a perfect example, which was Michael Ferris's comment right here. He was the first one to comment. It says money.
Well,
All
take
right?
the money out.
Let me give you a perfect example. His
How does the
logo,
money,
his and
how does
Julie's
the money,
logo, hold
how
on,
does the money affect if you block them from being able to even know what the
because
legislation is going to be? How can their money affect it?
because they're going to find out anyway. It's not like this is anything new. Look, Michael Ferris and Julie pay us a little bit of money, which we're grateful for and helps pay some of the software bills. But I told them, I said, look, you never know what Duke and I are going to say. And we may say some things that, you may not want to have your name associated with. They said, we don't care. In other words, that was our way of letting them know, hey, if you're going to be worried about what we say, all right, or if my brands or your brands over here in this corner, anyway, are going to be worried about what we say, then they don't need to be up there because there's no telling what we're going to say every week.
But we're not making law that governs all of us here. We're
I
not making
know,
law.
but the problem is our government officials don't, let me say this and keep it somewhat family friendly. Our government officials, our elected officials, the vast majority of them do not have a spine. Really, I wanted to say they don't have a set of something else, but I was trying to be nice. They don't have spines anymore. They should be able to withstand all that except the public pressure, the voting public. But they don't. They can't stand the pressure and the money that gets dangled in front of them from the lobbyists. And I would argue that's more of the problem than the transparency. And look, you and I will differ. Campaign finance, I think if you are a tax-paying citizen or an entity that's composed of taxpayers, you ought to be able to spend as much money as you want on a campaign.
I agree with you. And I don't think that what we're talking about here even has anything, because if Mike Johnson runs to be the congressman And he says, I'm conservative. I believe that we should stand with Israel. I believe that we should stand against abortion, and I won't support anything that supports abortion, and I will stand against anything that tries to take away from Israel. You know what? Then you should be able to spend however much money you want to be able to support that person. That's all fine and good, but it shouldn't be that, oh, by the way, if you go in and deliberate on a bill and it is this, if you don't vote this way, we're going to spend however much money we want to spend against you, so you better vote this way. I'm just saying, take that out of the equation. I'm thinking that that might be the better way to govern, because w- you said a republic if you can keep it. I got to tell you, were we a republic when we didn't have the lobbyists in the room controlling everything?
Well, I want to point out, I just had the comment up there, Jeff Sadow, he's one of those policy wonks and wonky type guys like we are kind of. Says lobbying as we know it began in the Civil War period, just as the federal government began to expand vastly in power and spending. There is a direct correlation between government's power and effort placed into lobbying. The case can be made that this started long before any sort of transparency. This
Well,
problem.
I would agree with that, and I'm not hanging my hat so much on the transparency thing, but what was a shock to me is the fact that, and I knew it, I knew it, but I just didn't realize it, that they had closed door deliberations at one point to where there was outside influence was able to be prevented, and the people who were elected to represent us, they came to you and me. They said, I believe A, B, C, D, and E. And if I'm elected, when I go, I'm going to vote for this. They go into that room and they either vote that way or they don't vote that way. After the dust is settled, when they come out, if they didn't vote that way, what we do know, it's not because they got $500,000 or $1 million
But that's
deposited into their campaign account.
but that's not
As it
true.
is as it
That's
is
just
now, no, it is true.
no. Here, and let me tell you where you're not
Look at
totally
Mike
correct.
Johnson's campaign finance report and look at the
Oh,
donations into the.
look. I'll go ahead and say it on the show. Mike's a
I'm just
weasel
saying.
anyway. I'm not worried
I'm
about Mike. Mike's doing exactly what you and I both predicted and expected him to do. But
but
here's
but this
where
but you're
no,
saying we should continue. He's not the only one. I'm not just picking
no,
on
he's
him.
not.
There's a
He's
ton
with the
of them like
majority.
that.
Yeah, he's another lemming in the crowd. But here's where you're wrong. The problem is that before the advent of transparency, and again, I really like the video. It's making like 1,000 things go through my head right now. Before the advent of that, those lobbying efforts were done in backroom meetings, not in front of the public. That's the differentiator. Before it was done in the backroom deals, and then they went in and voted.
No,
Now,
no.
they're just doing
I
it in
don't.
front of the cameras. I mean, it's like the thieves are
I
all out
don't.
in the open.
I don't think that's the case. I think that they were quote unquote like sequestered per
Oh,
se, the
I don't
same as
think
like
so.
in a
I
jury
think
type deal.
that's wishful thinking.
They locked the freaking doors and deliberated.
Oh, Duke Lauer, you and I sat in that courtroom up there and watched
I
Wes
ain't talking
Marriott's
about
case.
that.
And but that's it on the same thing on a much smaller scale. And you're telling me that you think that everything was hunky dory and they did everything like they were supposed to, and there
A-
weren't any backroom deals
a-
made?
ab- Absolutely not. That case was a farce in my mind. It was a farce.
That's a smaller scale of what our federal government is. Our federal government is just on a much bigger scale. Look, the video is great, and I don't
Here,
completely disagree with it.
here's what I know. Here's what I know. What I do know is the way our government functioned, with the exception of slavery, the way our government functioned prior to, say, the Civil War, we functioned effectively. We didn't have the debt that we had. We operated
They
within
had
our means.
duels. They
It,
literally had duels.
I don't give a shit. We can have duels today, but what I'm
Yeah, I would
saying,
agree they need
we're,
to come back.
we're
I'm
not.
not arguing that point. I'm just
We're
saying it wasn't all peaches and
we
roses.
we are effectively bankrupt already. We are the walking dead right now, and we're the walking dead because of the way our government is up there, and because
Hey, look, go.
you and me can make no difference, and everybody watching the show, we've got no say. We've got no we can vote for whoever we want to go represent us. It don't mean crap because they don't
That
listen to
we
what we
agree.
say. They don't do what we say. they do what the special interests want and the lobbyists want. And
Right.
how do we break it? How do we break it?
Well,
They had it figured out in the beginning.
I'm
They
going to
locked the freaking doors.
I'm
The
going to
lobbyists
say it
stayed in the
very
lobby.
I'm
I
going
got
to
to tell
say
you,
it very carefully so that we don't literally get kicked off of all the platforms. There is only one way to fix it, and nobody has a stomach for all that.
oh, it's already coming. It's already coming. And I ain't wanting to black helicopters
Well, yeah,
everybody.
I don't. Right.
There were 5 bank failures this past week. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know
Actually, I
that?
did not.
And you know how many of them were bailed out by the FDIC?
I have not a clue. Well,
And do you know why? Because they ain't got no money.
oh, but they can just
So I'm
print
just
more. They can just
wondering.
print more. I mean, we're so far
I'm
gone
just
now, it doesn't
wondering.
matter.
I'm just wondering, all y'all. No, well, you know what's going to happen after your dollars are devalued to nothing and your bank fails and the FDIC doesn't bail it out. You know what's going to happen? Probably what's going to happen is when Trump comes in, and he's already a proponent of it, we'll flip over to the gold standard.
Maybe. We'll see. And I would also like to point out, wasn't it during Nixon's administration that we got off the gold standard? Somebody correct me in my history there, Mr. Sadow. Well, Gaddy would know too.
And that video said, what about transparency? Who put all that, who moved that forward and changed government?
Yeah. Well, Nixon signed the legislation, but of course, Congress enacted it.
Well,
so,
right.
Can't
yeah,
just blame it on Nixon, really.
Anyway, but
well,
so that was nothing about what we were going to talk about tonight.
That was completely off the cuff and awesome. Dee Dee White Clark says, until we the people decide to get loud, nothing will change. Today's we the people would have had us all speaking with a British accent. She's kind of got a point there.
Well, I mean, bottom line is people don't care about their government. They don't. If they cared about their government, they would be knocking on doors for term limits to, send
more
people
than
home.
8% voting on taxes.
More than 8. Yeah, I mean, what I found more comical about the tax stuff was the elected officials gloating about the blowout. I heard the comment. I heard some of the elected officials say, "Oh, we killed them. We blew it out." You blew it out with 8,000 people. I mean, or 8%. 8%. That's I ain't done the math, but that's pretty close to just what the mail ballots are.
Well, it's less than 1 person out of 10.
Yeah, I can't remember what percent of, people who just get the mail ballots, and that's generally your elderly people that go home that they don't go to the polls. And I want to see, I would actually like to see that number of what it is, but they thought that was a blowout. You can't claim a blowout with only 8% turnout. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, that was a fun video to watch and stimulated an interesting discussion. I'll have to make sure and go back and listen to the show to see what I said. That could be dangerous.
Well, that video, it was on my mind. I'd seen it, and then when we got into the school board stuff, and so before we get into the replay videos, it was kind of the proton mail, those screenshots, the proton mail thing. We were getting kind of dinged by a lot of different information. People were saying, hey about this, hey about that, and I think the first one was, I guess we'll go to the cut one.
Yeah, let me get that pulled up and get some deals in here. Just give me about 10 seconds here. Make sure.
Yeah. So whoever this was tuning us up, and they weren't holding back. They were letting the police jury have a little bit, and and of course the school board. And you said right there.
Yeah, and let me go ahead and read it for those of you that are either on mobile or listening to the podcast audio version. This was sent to us via Proton Mail and all that. Anyway, it says, as for parish camp renovation, will help the duck hunters as well as the fishermen. That area over recent years gotten a new library, a lot of money spent for sparsely populated area. Need to see attendance figures on each to see if there are needed renovations or pet projects. Remember, there is a state park on the lake as well, and I've got some stuff I can add to that. Also says, second paragraph, as for the teacher stipends, the school board just approved a budget that included at least $1,600 for teachers and $1,000 for staff. To do this, which will be paid this month, they had to present a negative budget and dip into the reserve account for a little less than $2 million. That is true. We'll show you in a minute. With the state dealing with teacher stipends, when the state approves the state stipends, will this serve as a reimbursement to the parish, or will teachers receive an additional stipend? My contention, well, we'll get to the video here in a minute. Also, the new superintendent has created at least 2 new 6-figure jobs that were recently appointed: facilitator in transportation and K-12 administrator for accountability. What kind of title is that? The previous superintendent also created some new administrative jobs as well. One was in teacher recruitment and supervisor special programs. Only one candidate applied for superintendent. So next time we need a superintendent that operates on a budget that is not negative. Sales tax receipts are way down over last year. They talked about that in the budget meeting or finance meeting. Both of the jobs created are taking the workload off of upper administration and will have little effect on the overall education of our children. Somebody please think of the children.
Well, so there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think from a teacher standpoint, the most important thing that or question that they may have here is, are they getting a stipend from the Bossier Parish School Board and then going to additionally get another thing from the state? And what I would say is that we had another screenshot, of some dialogue that took place somewhere on Facebook that
Yes.
that that issue, that question was being debated a little bit, and it obviously touched a nerve or something or another. So
Yeah. Must have says the response or this comment that's kind of circled there says thank you for that. Well, let me go back up. So Andy Fenimore Verbka said they addressed this in the finance meeting for the school board. This is strictly a gift from the parish. So we're going to take our tax dollars we have all helped pay in, and it's a gift back to us? I mean, even the teachers help pay these taxes. It's not a gift. Anyway, from the parish, and nothing to do with state money. Go back and see if you can listen to the meeting from Thursday. They were very transparent. The response from Marla Murphy Rowland, is that Jason, related to Jason Rowland?
I think that was the point of why it may have been sent to us, but I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not really sure. But anyway, Marla Murphy Rowland, thank you for that. It's sad teachers always want to act like they're getting messed over. If it's not about not getting out of school when it rains, it's something. Oh,
Deadgum
those
teachers.
pesky teachers, they're writing the same deal with the cops and the firemen these days.
Now the problem with that cut is that you egregiously left out whoever sent that screenshot to us. They had some comments regarding that screenshot, and there weren't a lot of comments. It was brief, and I screenshotted it and put it in another cut.
Let me see if I can find it. I don't think so. No, that's not in there. Was that, refresh my memory, was that via email?
Well, I could have swore. Hold on, I got it.
Right.
I got it. Let me put it in there real quick. I'll drop it. I know that
That's
I have
okay.
it.
This is the beauty of a live show, folks. We get to do this on the fly.
There you go.
Is that cut 7?
No, it won't have a label. It'll be just
all right, it
some
might take a
crazy
second
number.
to sync up. We'll give it a minute here. Come on.
Nope.
Live show. Where did it come from? And I'll go grab a screenshot.
It was in our email.
Okay. All right, hold on. I can grab it. Let's see here. Do live show, folks. So y'all just hold on just a second. Let's see. Where was that? Here we go. Yeah, so the commentary says yes. All right, let me screenshot that.
Sorry,
Hold on just a
folks.
second.
I had grabbed it. We
That's
are just
okay.
trying to burnish our amateur resumes here and provide you the unquality show that we are providing you.
Hey, we have to maintain our amateur status. If we had everything perfect, we'd be professionals then, right? And let me, I think they sent that via
And
Proton Mail, but let
it
me verify.
wasn't that big of a
No, it
deal, but
wasn't.
basically the comments that came along with it was this is the reason why right here that um,
Why teachers
teachers.
stay silent in Bossier Parish. This is a comment from our superintendent's wife. We hadn't confirmed that. When a teacher asked about the stipend, and this is the response that the teacher got, that it's sad that teachers always want to act like they're getting messed over.
So I think it's a valid question if that was the question, and I don't know if that's the superintendent's wife or not, and uh, I mean I guess she would know whether teachers were being whiny or not. I mean I guess she would know, and I don't know if that's what she's suggesting, but I think it's a valid question. And if, according to the original poster of this, or the guy that posted that up there at the beginning of this, and the screenshot guy, I don't even know where this was. So we did our due diligence and we went searching for. I wanted to hear the details of all of this because I had someone else tell me uh, aside from all of this, yesterday evening, I had a conversation with somebody and they said, about the stipend thing. Oh, it was explained at the finance committee meeting. It was
Right,
thoroughly
right.
discussed and explained. So I think maybe at that point we should probably go to Restream and let's just show the video and you guys can make your own decision as to whether or not it was thoroughly explained. And at the end of it, I think we'll be able to tell you exactly or give you I hope, give you the answer to that question as to whether you're going to get one gift stipend from the parish and one stipend from the state. I would think that's going to be
Is it
clear.
is it going to be an Oprah show? I'm fixing to switch screens and do that. I do want to confirm that I just went to Facebook. Marla Murphy Rowland is in fact Jason Rowland's wife, because she has a picture of all of them at a family gathering. Okay, so let me switch screens here and let me get set up. Hold on just a second. Let's see. This is the finance meeting. Hit this button. Hopefully, yay. Hey, it worked. See, technology is working mostly tonight. All right. So this was not a terribly long meeting. It was only about a 30-minute meeting. But a lot of it, there was a lot of interesting talk about the budget and about this stipend, as they call it, the additional teacher pay and all that. So I think I'll just start at the beginning. It really is about the 1 minute 50-second mark. I would encourage everybody. One thing about the school board, and you mentioned this in the pre-show stuff, Duke, and it's a good point. The Bossier Parish School Board does stream their finance committee meeting as opposed to many of our other government entities around here.
Yeah, and I think it's to their credit as far as on their meetings and the transparency of their meetings and how they're publishing them. I, I think hands down they do the best. They do better than any other entity in the parish that I know of, and they get the credit for that. Now, I will say in the discussion and the dialogue, I heard them talking about how that they had email some emails going around where, they were able to look at all of this data before they come to this meeting. Everybody should note that this is a committee meeting. This isn't the regular meeting. We have that video as well. We went through that video, and I can tell you there was no dialogue whatsoever regarding these issues in this committee meeting. The only dialogue was basically one of the school board members denoting that all of the school board are members of this committee, the finance committee. So it's kind of like, well, okay, why would you have a finance committee, if all of you are members and you're just going to have this meeting at a regular meeting? Why would you not just have any
Have it at the
deliberations?
regular meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. But then this got my mind to thinking as well on the video that we showed at the start of the show. Well, maybe they should deliberate all this in the back.
Maybe it should be in secret. I'm for
You
that,
know?
Duke. They should not let us do. As a matter of fact, they shouldn't even stream the meeting.
But they already do it.
But they could stop. They don't. And look, there's nothing in the law currently in Louisiana law that requires them to stream the meeting. They just have to record the audio. That's all.
That's right. And the school board, to their credit, streams this and puts this out here. But again, we went to this meeting looking for the dialogue and the explanation, and either it was here or it was not here.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So let me see here. All right. Let's listen to this first part of it. Hold on. Okay. Here we go.
Thank you. Mr. Bullard, Superintendent Rowland, members of the board, thank you all tonight for being here. We are excited to be able to present the salary schedule for 24-25 to you. And I've given y'all all a printed copy of the schedule. You should have a copy of that book. So one of the first things we want to point out is that at this time we are not proposing a pay raise for 24-25 across the board. We will keep that in mind, obviously, but at this time we did not feel comfortable recommending a across-the-board pay raise.
So you caught that. This is definitely just a stipend, a one-time thing, that they are not comfortable with an across-the-board pay raise. All right, here we go.
So if you look on like page 4, that 9-month teacher pay scale, that will mirror the 9-month teacher pay scale from the prior year. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that everyone will still get their step increases. So the new salary schedules do not affect that they would not get step increases. The step increases are still there. And
so I want to pause right there and cut her off. I'm trying to remember from a couple of years ago and fighting the, attempted 40% tax increase from the school board when they were talking about teacher pay and saying that's what it was going to be for. The step increases, is that like a cost of living increase? Like, I don't know the number, but is it a 1% or 2% or something like that raised? Is anybody in the comments, or do you happen to know, Duke?
I do not know.
Okay. Because they mentioned the step increases several times. So if somebody in the comments knows, then let us know. Okay, here we go.
And built in for all employees across the board. And so, trying to think, we did update there were some descriptors on the salary schedules that we needed to update to clarify some of the positions on certain scales, primarily at the district level support staff. So we did those. We had a correction on the licensed maintenance tech that we needed to make. So we made a correction on that descriptor as
all right, I'll save y'all the humdrum of that. I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to the 4-minute mark. So let me get us up there, because Eric Newman makes mention again of these step increases. So here we go.
And just for clarification and for the record, everyone still gets their step increases. What you referred to at the beginning is the fact that no additional raise will be given at this time, because
Correct.
We are waiting for information from the state and a lot of other things. But to be clear, employees will get step increases as noted in these schedules. What you referred to as above and beyond their regular step increases. I want to make sure everybody was crystal clear about that for the record.
Yes, sir. And if y'all.
So let me ask a question. And I'm going to sprinkle as we go through this with several questions or commentary. Are the teachers in Bossier Parish, are they state employees? Are they employees of the state?
No, I don't think they're employees of the state. They're employees of the second largest employer of Bossier Parish.
Are we sure? Because it seems to me that the Bossier Parish School Board is making raises contingent on getting money from the state. Why is that? Okay, here we go.
I don't know. I'm not a school person. I don't freaking know.
I'm just making the observations. Michael Ferris says an across-the-board pay raise includes administrative personnel. Just get that raise for teachers. Oh no, Mr. Ferris, they can't do that because the school board is definitely, well, top-heavy, but that's a whole other conversation. Okay, here we go.
I remember last year when we went to these more uniform salary schedules using the multiplier that you're referring to, we actually made it where everyone gets a step increase every year. And so this still is reflective of that step increase every year. And it will be in line with those multipliers. Yes, sir. So this is the exact same methodology that we adopted last year. Yes, sir.
Thank
you.
So I'm going to stop right there. Dee Dee White Clark has a comment. She said, paraprofessionals, the paras, definitely don't get paid what they are worth. I would agree, Dee Dee. As a matter of fact, my mom was a paraprofessional, but she didn't do it for the money. She did it for the retirement and the health care benefits, literally. She wasn't, she made, I don't know, whatever it was. Actually, all those salaries are public information, by the way. But it wasn't much. It was 20-something, 30-something thousand a year, maybe less than that. I can't remember. But like she told me, she did it for the health insurance benefits and the retirement, not for the salary or the pay. Okay.
Well, let's jump ahead to like the 704, the 1209 mark when we start talking about the taxes and the revenue, and because she made some interesting comments that is pertinent to, I think, all government regarding the revenues that and what they are seeing, year on year, year after year, month after month. I mean, I don't know. She said it.
And look, credit to her. Is this Dennis Bamberg's wife by chance, or I don't know Dennis's wife?
No.
Her last name's Bamberg.
Unrelated.
Unrelated. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. All right, here we go. 7-minute mark.
The teacher pay scale was capped at 28. We had some other scales like the custodial scale. It actually stopped, I think, at year 10. And so after 10 years, they didn't get any raises.
Right, in the para from 0 to 20 was
yes, ma'am.
Very minimal. So I think that's important to note.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that that's not a raise, but in a sense, they're not waiting 3 years for a step increase. We're getting one every year, and I think that's noteworthy to emphasize, even though that went into effect this school year.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And the other was it's going to 30 years now.
Correct.
And not capped at 28. So I just think that's something, and I'm all for giving teachers a raise.
Yes, ma'am.
And hope that we can do that. But I think that's something that we're moving in the positive direction. So.
Oh, it just never ceases to amaze me, having dealt with the school board directly in the past. We're all for giving teachers raises. Well, then why don't you just do it? Literally, if you ask everyone I'm up there, they'll all tell you, oh yeah, we absolutely support our teachers. We're for giving teachers a raise. It's kind of like the police department and the fire department. Oh, we're all for giving them a raise till it actually comes down to doing it.
Yeah, so go to the 1209 mark and let's get into this tax thing.
Yep, here we go.
Okay, so to get into a little bit of detail, as you can see, there's a significant increase on the ad valorem taxes this year. We did see a large increase this year, primarily due to the COVID credits all going away and some new property. And so that was the reason for the increase. We did project an increase this year, but it came in better than we expected on ad valorem. So that's kind of what you'll see there at the top. One of the other areas is the Medicaid reimbursements. Medicaid is still getting caught up at the state level, and so we
Stop there because it gets kind of wonky from here on out. But notice that's an important thing because she says the ad valorem tax revenue. Well, let me go back. Hold on just a second. Did she say increased or decreased?
Okay, so to get into a little bit of detail, as you can see, there's a significant increase on the ad valorem taxes this year. We did see a large increase this year, primarily due to the COVID credits all going away.
But it's interesting because you'll hear in a few minutes when we play the next part, another part, sales tax revenues are down quite a bit.
That's right.
Okay. Let's go up to the point where she talks about the projected loss, because this is interesting.
We are projecting a loss for 23-24 of $2.6 million. That is what we are asking approval for tonight. And so I did not put that, that's my fault. I forgot to put the parentheses in when I typed that, but that is, if you take the revenues less the expenses, we are projecting a loss. That is a strategic loss. I do want y'all to know that it's strategic, and it's because we are requesting the supplement to be paid this year. It's the supplement that's pushing us over to a loss. Now, what I will say is, even with the loss, our projected ending fund balance is at $57,571,000. That percentage is 19.55%, which is still within our guidelines for our reserves. And so I do feel comfortable presenting this budgeted loss to the board tonight. I do feel like we're in a very strong position, and I'm confident in the supplement that we're presenting. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You said that percentage is in the 19s?
19.55.
All right, listen
if
up.
I remember, Mr. Bullard, some of the people that are more seasoned than me, wasn't our target like 16 something?
Yes, sir. 16.67.
Is there a reason why we have 3% more?
Unforeseen revenues in the prior year.
Okay, could we, I mean, I'm not the accountant, obviously, but could we shift that from that reserve or that benchmark into the fund to reduce that deficit? Or I'm just looking for a balanced budget, not a deficit budget. So that's
absolutely. Yes and no. Okay, so the way that the budget works is we're strictly looking at income and expenses. That $2.6 million, that's essentially what we're doing. We're taking revenue, we're eating away at the reserve that we have available. So we're taking prior year revenues to cover current year expenses. When you mention a deficit budget, the deficit budget in the accounting world that we talk about, that is a no-no that you cannot have, is that I don't have any reserves to cover the loss that I'm projecting. So a true deficit budget is that I have no funds available to cover the loss that I'm projecting. So my ending fund balance is going to be in the hole. That's a true deficit budget. We are not proposing that at all tonight. All we're proposing is to use some prior year revenues to help cover the supplement so that we can give the supplement to the employees this year.
And so I wanted to go ahead and play through that part to make it clear that she's, I didn't want to, because we could have obviously skipped to another part and everybody would have gone on thinking, oh my goodness, the Bossier Parish School Board's running a deficit. That's not technically correct.
Yeah, and to the person that had, I think that person that had emailed us, that got us off bird dogging on this or whatever, they were saying that it was under 2 million. What's actually what they're talking about is 2.6 million. And the other interesting thing that she's talking about prior year revenues. She's saying prior year revenues, but they're realizing the loss this year. I mean, it's a little confusing.
Yeah, and, I'm no CPA. Maybe Mr. Sadow can kind of analyze and crunch this and give us a little feedback later on or whatever. All right, so I'm going to jump ahead actually just a little bit, and we get to hear from Mr. Jason Rowland himself. Here we go.
In the event that some of the things that our teachers have been promised from the legislature over the last couple of years, in the event that that number wasn't met to what they were promised, would this percentage that we're over now, could that go toward possible future things that are done for teachers as well, by supplements that may not hit the mark that they were promised?
Yes, sir.
you.
Absolutely. And
Thank
that's
you, Mr.
another
Chairman.
reason, we're trying to be strategic with what we're doing this year, is the unknowns of the legislature, and we're trying to make sure that we keep enough there that we can protect our teachers and provide for them. Yes, sir.
So
So,
was
yeah, did you catch that?
was that saying that this stipend is taking the place of the unknown stipend that may or may not come from the legislature? And if something comes from the legislature, is this action replacing that? Or is the teacher, can y'all all expect to get the stipend from Bossier and the
Every
stipend from
year?
the state?
Well,
Well, and from the state too,
here's
for
my
1
take
year.
on it, but this is my opinion only, having watched the meeting one time and, then we're going through it now. The way I'm reading this, they don't mention at any point in here being reimbursed from the state. Roland kind of alluded to it right there, about the Baton Rouge promises. And again, I'm still confused. If the teachers are parish employees, then why are we worried about the state supplementing their pay? Again, why isn't it completely on the back of the school board? Why is Jason trying to put this off on the backs of Baton Rouge? But number two, the way I view this, again, I encourage y'all to go watch this meeting in total. But I didn't hear anything about the stipend from the state except for in this little exchange. So it sounds, and he even alluded to the fact that, hey, can we stay, if we stay within this percentage, can we do this every year? Is kind of what he was asking.
Yeah, that was where he was going. I mean, and Jeffrey Sadow did respond and said that the Bossier Parish School Board had expenditures in excess of revenues of $2.6 million. Past revenues are the banked money in the general fund of $57.7 million. So, they didn't spend. I'm assuming what he's saying, they didn't spend everything they had. They had revenues left over, and that's what they're using.
Well, and
Am I
Barry
reading
Butler
that right?
says, that's the way I read it. Barry Butler says on Keel this morning, they said they would get both. So to be clear, because I didn't listen to Keel this morning, Barry, you're saying that according to interviews on Keel, they're going to get the parish money, the parish stipend, and the state stipend. Is that correct, Barry? Confirm that in the comments, please. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead. Go ahead.
2338 mark, I think, is where we need to be.
Yeah, that's what the sales tax decrease. Here we go.
Ms. Smith?
Ms. Bamberg, I know we flipped through 50 pages here, but what are our sales tax? Are they still on the decline right now?
They are
decreasing monthly.
It is decreasing monthly. I keep a running track of the sales tax over the prior year because every month fluctuates so differently based on, Christmas is a really good month, and for some reason, April is normally a really good month. I'm assuming income tax and stuff, but you have these different months that are really better than others, so I compare month over prior year, same month. So right now we're seeing about a $200,000 loss per month over the prior year, same month. Is currently what we're seeing. Like I said, the month of April typically tends to be a really big month for sales tax. And so that particular loss, like April 24 over April 23, was 700,000. And so it is significantly fluctuating. I was prepared for to hit a sort of recession on the sales tax, so I had projected down, and so we're still within range of the original budget on sales tax. We were actually able to increase that a little bit, but...
All right, so I'll save the kind of wonky talk there. Sales tax revenues are down, and basically what she was saying is she had kind of anticipated the recession of the sales tax, and so she had kind of allowed for that in the budget, so they were still within, her budget parameters.
See, that's why somebody like me would not be on the school board or any of these boards, or would get elected, because I would want to know, what made you think that things would go down? What made you think that? What gave you any indication of that?
Yeah. All right. So it's kind of interesting that the ad valorem taxes and property taxes were up, sales taxes were down. But I have a sneaking suspicion. Isn't this like a reassessment year or whatever? Am I correct on that? Or
I
it's
think
coming
that's
up?
right.
Yeah.
And I gotta ask you, I thought you were going to get Bobby Edmonston on.
Well, rumor has it that Mr. Evanston is thinking about giving us a tax assessment lesson. You know, like he's told me many, many times, he doesn't collect the taxes. That's the sheriff's job. He doesn't set the taxes. That's the legislature and the local body's job. He's just the guy and department that assesses the taxes. So anyway,
He does the math. He does the math.
he's a math guy. So yeah, hopefully we can get him on maybe here in the next month or two and talk about how the whole process works. And so maybe we'll get lucky and see if he can come on.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of questions we need to get out there, flush out there.
That would be an interesting show. We hadn't had Bobby on the show at all. So it'd be very interesting. He's generally, you know, I always encourage people, hey, call the tax assessor's office and ask them if you got questions because they're generally pretty helpful about that stuff. All right, and let's just listen to one more clarification towards the end of the meeting on the retirement and the supplement.
Let me clarify that the supplement that we're giving does count towards retirement, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The only difference between calling it a supplement and versus calling it their salary is that it's not built into the salary schedule, and it's just we don't feel comfortable committing to that for a recurring revenue stream. This particular supplement is going to cost us just under $5 million. And so that's the reason we call it a supplement. They get full credit for retirement. They're going to get it's going to be fully reported. It's just not a recurring promised amount at this point.
So they're getting more of a benefit than just what's going to be in that check that they're going to get on the 20th. They're going to get some benefit into their retirement account and so forth.
Yes, sir.
All right, just want to make sure we called that out as well, because that's, I don't want to say double dipping, but that's double dipping in a good way. So
double dipping in a good way. What say you to that, Mr. Lowry?
Well, I mean, look, it goes back to Government 101. You know, at the end of your career, when you're making the highest wages that you're made and you're potentially going to retire, any extra little bit of money or an extra paycheck will be calculated into your average retirement. So if you can get, you know, 1,000 for the last 3 years, an extra paycheck, you know, $1,000, $2,000, if you can get a little bit of extra, you know, that brings your average up on your retirement for the next however long you draw a check from your retirement.
Good point. Mr. Sadow says it is a reassessment year. The problem with property taxation is it's pretty invariant, so you can't expect it to rise significantly every year, unlike sales taxes, which can gyrate substantially year over year. Thank you again, Mr. Sadow. We are glad to have your information in the commentary.
You know, and on the tax assessor, a lot of people may not realize this, and I will give credit to Alice, one of our watchers. She shot an email and she said, "Did you guys know that the tax assessors almost have more authority than the police and can just come on your property when they want, you know, at their leisure?" And to my understanding, that's true that they can. They can hop the fence just like they did Butch Ford and assess his residence.
I was going to say, Butch Ford, you beat me to the punch.
make the determination whether it's being habitated or not, to which they determined that it was not being habitated. And that, anyway, I'll stop. I'll
Poor
stop.
Butch. His ears are burning again.
But Alice, we appreciate that email. And yes, we did know that.
Yes. All right, so that pretty much takes care of the Bossier Parish School Board raises. Here's what we can definitively say. That school board meeting, credit to the Bossier Parish School Board for putting their finance meetings online so you can go back and review that. There was not as much detail in that as some people let on. They did not really explain everything, although they did a fairly good job, I would argue, in that meeting. But it looks like, according to Barry Butler, according to Keel, they're going to get both the state money and the school board money, at least this year. And according to Jason Rowland's comments, they may look at doing it every year. So you get a bonus at the end of the year, maybe. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, and and it was just a school board week. We got another proton mail and cut four, and someone was bringing to our attention some activity that was taking place at Bossier High School. And
Yeah,
I
let's
I
see
don't
what
know any of the details regarding this. I don't know. Maybe you guys watching can elaborate and put it out here. But this is kind of what's going on. Did you know that 5 medical offices are being set up in the middle of Bossier High School in I guess where the band room is?
Does anybody
Don't
know about
know.
this?
Yeah, I mean, is this 5 medical offices for private doctors? Is this 5 medical offices for illegal aliens? What are we talking about here?
Are they adding extra biology classes or pre-med classes to Bossier High now? Does anybody know the deal? Bueller. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here?
Well, I
Shall
think.
we do the cut 5?
Oh, what was cut 5? Let's see. Yeah, well,
Retributions.
yeah. Well, I mean, we need to cover that one. That was also sent to us, and I think
Okay.
it's kind of more of the same.
Yeah. So, I'll share this address because it's a Proton Mail address. So it doesn't matter. It's anonymous. Says just a little something from the past school year that really needs looking into. Just about everyone in the school system knows about this, but are all afraid of retributions if they speak up. Oh, this sounds interesting. It's literally my first time reading this. First and foremost, this is a lot, would be the discovery in September-October 2023 that the Plantation Park former secretary and bookkeeper Stephanie Walker McGuffey has been embezzling school money for who knows how long to the tune of $200,000 or more. McGuffey moved to central office when her Plantation Park principal, Tanya Hilburn, was promoted to supervisor of campus and district personnel evaluation for the new school year. McGuffey is no longer employed by the parish, but no one knows if she was fired, allowed to resign, or even retire. Nothing would shock us, especially given that she is the niece of Bossier City's very own Lowell Walker. She was supposedly arrested, but walked free the same day. No news on all this except for a little blurb at the end of a KSLA article on February 13th, 2024, reporting on misappropriation of funds in Caddo and Bossier Parish. The total amount misappropriated by all involved Caddo Parish employees was half of the in excess of $19,000 that McGuffey reportedly took. When everyone knows it was more than 10 times the reported $19,000. Why has this not made news? It seems that it has been swept under the rug to save face for the school board. It's sickening. Okay, first I'm hearing of this at all.
Well, yeah, me as well. I guess I've been living under a rock on the school board stuff. And, but, if there has been embezzlement and there has been this kind of stuff, I mean, it needs to be prosecuted. And if they're guilty, they need to go to jail. If they're not guilty, then they don't need to go to jail.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. Because this is a school board issue and public tax dollars is the main reason, of course, it's of interest to us. She's innocent until proven guilty, or supposed to be anyway. So I guess we'll have to see how this goes. Does anybody else have any information on this? I mean, you may not want to say it in the comments, but remember, there's always Proton Mail.
I mean, and I'm looking at the comments, and a lot of people are still talking about the health care. They're saying, I see Andy Majay Foyd says, they was told it was going to be a clinic. And Ferris saying, the school is now a healthcare provider, question mark. Someone says, oh, it's going to be a nursing clinic. So, I mean, are the schools now turning into medical care facilities and healthcare facilities? Is that
Well,
where does it end?
interesting little bit of Bossier Watch history. I'm not going to share every little detail, but if you go back and watch the first video posted by Bossier Watch, it's actually on the school board healthcare deal when they were looking at changing healthcare providers a few years ago.
I remember that.
That kind of was the precipitant part of it for Bossier Watch. So that's very interesting. Let's see. AJ and Mandy Foy says nurse clinic for poor sections of our districts. That's interesting. Let's see. They say some students might not get the attention they need due to parents not able to pick them up to take them to the doctor. As far as I know, just Russian and Bossier High so far are getting medical facilities. Well, I guess the school board is getting in the healthcare business.
Well,
David Raines will fund the medical facility after the school board builds it. Interesting. Not sure how I feel about the school board getting in the healthcare business. That's odd.
What do you think they're going to counsel kids on gender transitions and things like that and abortion?
Well, they can just counsel them and then have the medical facilities right there. I guess I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, is that where this is heading? I mean, what about the vaccines? Are they going to be promoting vaccines, COVID vaccines specifically?
Very interesting.
I'm curious now. They've piqued my interest. I mean,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of federal money tied to those type things, and I mean, I guess they're a provider now.
A lot of schools around the country are starting to put detail medical clinics inside schools. Why? I mean, how the hell did we get along for all these years without it? And arguably, the average
just put some damn spin on it.
You're right. I mean, the average lifespan of the U.S. citizen is actually dropping, and yet we have all this wonderful health care everywhere. I don't understand that correlation.
So now we're putting in medical facilities, and by our deliberations here, we're wondering whether or not we're going to be discussing abortion, whether we're going to be discussing COVID vaccines, whether we're going to be discussing gender transitions and all that. And then some people wonder why, the public is slowly moving away from the public education model. People are scratching their head and they can't understand it. And it's being politicized.
It is.
Let's just say it what it is, being politicized, and you're killing yourself. That's what's happening.
There's so many places we could go. What about these city raises?
Oh, you're talking about the 10% raises for Bossier City? Oh no, that crap
Word
ain't
on the street is everybody's getting a 10% raise that works for the city. Is that correct, Mr. Lauer? Breaking news?
Well, I did hear that, but I heard, I mean, sources tell me that the King's done had second thoughts about that. And of course the mayor as well. He's done threw in with him. And
Well,
they
you gotta
said,
watch that Tommy guy. He's pretty wishy-washy anyway.
Well, they said, you know what, since you popo, since y'all decided to put up a billboard exposing us for paying y'all slave labor, we're gonna you ain't gonna get that money this year. Best case next year, you maybe can get it next year.
Wait, so didn't I mention, or maybe you did on last show or show before last, about we alluded to something about that, about the police officers or the firemen being like petulant children or something like that, according to sources with the city council.
Yeah, I think we made mention of that. I mean, and according to sources, the king and the mayor, they're all mad at the popo, and not really the firemen, primarily the popo, that they would have the gall to demand pay raises only because they've been patted on the head for so many damn years and made promises that these guys don't keep because they make other things a priority. But they've all been told They've all been told, "Hey, you're all going to get a 10% raise. Everybody in the whole city." I'm going to have to turn my phone off. People blowing me up. I guess we're making everybody mad.
No,
So
everybody's mad.
everybody's mad. So hey, we're going to give all the city employees a 10% raise because the police are being subpaid, less than the majority of all of the, you know, other law enforcement around. We're going to give the whole city a 10% raise. And oh, by the way, that still ain't going to get the popo close to where they should be.
What they?
But,
I
but
thought I saw the monument of tax dollars, the tower of tax dollars. I thought I saw that for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Did somebody buy that so they could go ahead and get the raise? Did they sell the
maybe,
roundabout too?
but that's not, but look, this 10% thing, that's not what's going to make everybody mad. What's going to make everybody mad is the fact that word on the street is the king is out hustling the other council members to resurrect something that he's been wanting to do for a long time, but everybody kind of stood up against it and beat it back.
Uh-oh. What would that be?
Well, uh, somebody
Or
messaged
can
me
we
now.
say it?
Now they're saying, I just want to keep hearing your phone ringing in the background.
You should have never said anything.
Well, word on the street is the king is saying, by gosh, we're going to get this YMCA funded before we get these popo salaries funded.
Oh,
And
he want. See, that's a smart strategy because he wants to get all the police and all their families on the side of the tennis courts and rallying for the tennis courts. So he's using their pay as the proverbial carrot on the stick.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but what I do know is that I'm told that he's jockeying everybody behind closed doors about getting. I mean, but what are you going to do? Sue for his phone records and for
God forbid they're
transparency and government and all that kind of stuff. No, that dog don't fly in Bossier Parish. I mean, he just get his judges to block all that. But the thing is he's trying to get the YMCA thing done again, and that will happen before the popo get their raise, or before your public safety gets a raise. So y'all just all out there need to know that statues and YMCA's come before public safety in Bossier
tennis,
City.
baseball, and monuments of tax dollars come first. Our police
That's
and
right.
firemen, y'all are way down the list. But the teachers, like you said at the beginning of the show, Duke, you opened up with a good comment. Maybe all the cops and the firemen too should just go work for the school board. Y'all get stipends every year. You get your step increases and all that sort of thing. Just go work. Y'all just go be teachers or go be SROs. Do they have like
Yeah,
an
and
SRO thing for the firemen too? Can we
credit
implement that?
credit to the school system. I mean, they have their faults. I mean, they've got a bullying problem that they don't adequately address, in my opinion. But they are good about publicizing their meetings, good, and they're trying to get money for their teachers. I mean, I give them credit for that. They do a good job on that. They're trying. So if you're a popo, you might want to go there. But I want to say something else, Rex. You know, Bossier Bossier hadn't had some of the historical problems and problems that can affect cities, and I got to tell you, I think we're close to that day. But if you go to Cut 5, have you ever heard of the blue flu? Have you ever heard of
Blue
that?
flu. That sounds pretty serious. What in the world is the blue flu?
Well, a lot of people in government, they don't think that that's a real thing. They don't think it exists. But, actually, here is Chief Bry Larison, and this has been here recently. And he says, our night shift supervisor contacted me this morning to report that no day shift employees reported to work as scheduled. So I immediately responded by contacting Major Kenny Corcoran of the Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office to request relief. Tangipahoa Sheriff's Office provided 4 deputies and a dispatcher to keep the city safe and secure.
Well, maybe they didn't get vaccinated properly and they were all just sick.
Probably so. And then go to Cut 6, the next one. And, you know, So he goes on to say, I believe this episode of the Blue Flu is related to payroll issues. Our officers are disappointed in City Hall because they are underpaid. They make far less than other city employees, and they are fed up with the mayor ignoring the city, I can't read the word, consultants compensation plan. So, anyway, my point is, boy, doesn't that sound familiar?
Sounds very familiar.
Now, I'm not making any suggestions, but what I am saying that I got to tell you, if between now and the end of the year, if the Popo's problems regarding compensation are not addressed and the YMCA is put ahead of public safety,
Young
you know,
man, dun dun
I got
dun
to
dun
tell
dun
you, I
dun.
would
Young
not be
man,
feeling good
dun dun
about it.
dun dun
I
dun
would not.
dun.
I'm pretty sure that I would probably break down in some kind of, I might even have an anaphylactic reaction just thinking about it.
Wasn't one of the YMCA guys from what was that group? Dun 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 dun. Wasn't one of them a cop? Dadgummit, I'm having a mind blank on the
He
group.
was a cop. There was the Indian, there was a
Yeah, the
cop.
cop. There's a construction worker
Yep.
and something else. Yeah, that's what we need to come up with a theme song for that. Dun
Hey,
dun
were they
dun
all
dun dun
gay?
dun dun. I don't know. I did never ask him. I never knew.
Well, I don't know either, but I mean, just wondering.
I really don't know.
I don't know either. But
All right.
my
Village
point is,
people, thank you, Dee Dee White Clark. I was having a complete senior moment.
the
More
blue
gray hair I
flu is
get, the more
real. I hope it don't come to Bossier. I hope it doesn't get contagious. But boy, I can tell you, there's a lot of similarities between other cities and Bossier, and you know, I'm
Well,
I'm
what
scared
was
that
it?
the YMCA is going to bring it to Bossier.
Well, you know what really got the city council's dander up the last time? Um, wasn't it the Fraternal Order of Police or something? They put up a billboard that ticked them off. I don't know if any of that's going to happen again or not or anything like that, but you know that billboard seemed to get their dander up pretty good the last time.
Well, it did. I mean, they're all hot and bothered about that billboard. I mean, especially going into an election year. I mean, I look, I can see the king. I mean, he's supposedly saying he's not going to run again because he doesn't have to worry about term limits because nobody's going to knock on any doors and collect any signatures. That's just all hot air from people saying that they would do anything with term limits. Y'all all know who you are. You're hot air because you ain't done nothing. And
I, I would just like to point out in the commentary, Dee Dee White Clark says, cop, Indian construction worker, and a dude dressed in black leather. She was pretty quick and pretty specific and remembers the village people really well. Just like to
yeah,
point that out.
so look, David, you don't have to leave next year. You can stay because term limits ain't going to send you packing, brother. You got all the power in the world. You can stay and look. You can give these cops a raise, and then you can get your YMCA. There's no point. You ain't got to worry about it. The
You can
pressure's
have
off,
it all.
baby.
Have it all. Jeremy Watson says, I'm ready for the second billboard. Wouldn't that be interesting? And Harlan Hughes says President Reagan would have the answer. Well, I've got my issues with Reagan, although he was a defining moment in my childhood, and I support Reagan, hoorah. He wasn't so much that great on gun control, but that's a whole other deal. Anyway, the Bossier Parish Police Jury boat launch, I don't want to spend very much time on that. I just want to note, let me see if I can share my screen, that we did do the post on that, and that the Bossier Parish Police Jury did revamp the parish camp boat launch on Lake Bistineau. As you can see, looks like Lisa Friday Johnson was out there cheerleading, and she said, it's official. Bossier Parish Camp is open for recreation on Lake Bistineau. This $1.5 million project is the product of a grant plus Bossier Parish Police Jury match to create the only public boat launch in Bossier Parish. Go enjoy it, Bossier Parish. You know what they forgot to put in that $1.5 million? One little thing?
Uh,
wash down hoses to wash your trailers down with high pressure nozzles after you pull out of there with the Salvinia.
Yeah, but that's only if you have a Salvinia problem.
Oh, see those yellow booms back there, Mr. Lowry? Do you have any idea what those yellow booms that you have to drive over with your boat and outboard? Do you know what those are for, Mr. Lowry?
Well, look, Mr. Moncrief, those woods you see in the background behind those yellow buoys, you know what that's called? It's called Peggy's Island. I know that area well. I've been there a bunch over my years. I grew up in Halton, H-Town, baby.
Okay.
H-Town, not Halton,
Okay.
H-Town.
Yeah, but they didn't have those buoys out there then. Or not buoys, but yeah, well, it is buoys, yellow buoys. Anyway, David Womack says, do they still call Bistineau the Dead Sea? I need to correct you, Mr. Womack. The Dead Sea is Cross Lake, not Bistineau. Bistineau has a lot of good fishing and produces some pretty good stringers, as well as brim and crappie, too.
It
Anyway.
does. I will tell you, right there in that body of water, just about probably about 1,000 yards to the left of that image, out in the middle of that open water, I killed on a cold front back in the 80s. I killed an eider, and I killed a sea goose, a saltwater goose.
Really?
On a cold front that pushed from the west coast to the east coast. It didn't push north south. It pushed west to east. And I killed an eider and I killed a saltwater goose out there in that body of water on Lake Bistineau. Sure
Really?
did.
Very interesting.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so there was a lively discussion on giant salvinia and all that. I won't bore everybody with those details. That'll be more of an outdoor news discussion topic show one of these days. But anyway, what else do we have this evening, Mr.
I will tell you there is a hot discussion going on right now because, as many of you may or may not know, so there was a three judge federal panel that threw out the newly redrawn congressional districts, right?
Yes.
And there was one that was gerrymandered that supposedly was made to create a new minority district, and it basically stretches from the Gulf Coast all the way up to into Shreveport to create this
Right.
district. And this three-judge federal judge threw it out and said, "No, this ain't going to work. This is like so gerrymandered. This is ridiculous." Well, the thing is a lot of you may not realize, and the majority of the folks watching the show, Northwest Louisiana, we get the benefit of having a Supreme Court justice on the Supreme Court. Well, that also has been amended. But as of yet, there has not been a lawsuit filed to force it in front of the judges. And it is drawn such that in the future, Northwest Louisiana won't have representation on the Supreme Court of Louisiana unless somebody, steps up and files a lawsuit. And if someone was to step up and file that lawsuit, it would potentially make a race take place based on the lines that exist currently, not the lines that would be redrawn. So potentially, we're going to see all of this turn upside down because I'm even hearing that potentially all the legislative districts are going to be redrawn as well too.
Really?
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there for people to kind of think about. I mean, do you guys think that, Northwest Louisiana, that we should have representation on the Louisiana Supreme Court, or do you think that it should be pretty much just all a bunch of South Louisiana attorneys on the Louisiana Supreme Court?
Well, we don't exist up here anyway. Isn't that the big gripe? All South Louisiana gets all the funding and we don't get our fair share up here, blah, 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 blah.
Well,
I mean, we're just a bunch of Yankees up here anyway.
Could we all just go ahead and join Texas at this point?
Be fine with me. I swore up and down when I moved back to Louisiana, I wasn't going to leave Louisiana again because I love the hunting and the fishing around here. But I got to tell you, if we decided to secede the top half of Louisiana and join Texas, I would be perfectly fine with that.
Well, I got to say, my good friend Jeff Landry better step up his game. We have sent requested interviews, and we have not gotten the interview and gotten him to come on the show. You would think, being a personal friend of Jeff's, that would carry some weight, but it has carried zero weight up to this point. Because I would like to ask him a few questions regarding this. That shouldn't Northwest Louisiana have? Representation on the Supreme Court. Shouldn't that be the case? I mean, I don't mind challenging my friend on that. And I also would like to know what we're going to do about waterfowl in Louisiana. We recorded the lowest all-time, had the lowest all-time midwinter survey of Louisiana. We are losing. We are not the sportsman's paradise anymore. We're losing on so many fronts. And I know that Jeff and his team are doing a lot trying to change things, but there's a lot of things that are not being addressed. And I don't know that disenfranchising us all up here in Northwest Louisiana, especially having representation on the Louisiana Supreme Court, I don't think that's the right way to go too. And I'm not saying that's Jeff's fault, but I mean, there's a lot of us there's a lot of us up here that vote, and a lot of us that voted for him.
Well, there was a spirited conversation between him and Aaron on Keel the other morning. I don't remember the whole thing, but it was a pretty spirited debate or discussion. Let me put it that way.
I don't always get to listen to Keel. I like listening to Keel, but I don't always get to listen to Keel. And I would think a lot of the folks that watch our show and watch it afterwards don't get to listen to Keel either. And they would probably appreciate being able to hear it from him himself as well, too.
I would think so. Well, maybe we can get him on. Hey, we did have the Secretary of the Wildlife and Fisheries on the Outdoor News, so was an interesting discussion for our first time to interview her. Hopefully we can get her back on later and maybe do a little deeper dive into some of these discussions like the waterfowl situation. And I've got a few things to get on my soapbox about bass fishing and other things. So anyway.
Well, I for one, look, I am loyal to my state, and I'm loyal to Northwest Louisiana. And as Christopher James Norris, I agree with him 100%. I'm tired of us being the bastard child of Louisiana. And I'm tired of politicians running for office and saying, you're not going to be treated that way. And then you turn around and you're treated that way. You don't tell me what you want to hear, and then you don't be my buddy.
Very, very true. Okay, so maybe we'll I don't know, maybe we'll get to have that discussion either on Bossier Watch or Louisiana Watch. Speaking of that, are we planning on having a Louisiana Watch maybe Thursday night? Do we have anything to talk about, really?
I think so. I remember us talking about the notes here earlier before the show. I know on the Outdoor News we've got a lot of guests in the hopper, for shows on different subjects, from everywhere from bass fishing to waterfowl. I intend to start trying to do a lot of deep research. I have lined up for us on the Outdoor News probably the most heralded waterfowl biologist in the nation. And then behind him, I'm not going to say which state, but a head state biologist of waterfowl, one of the major states in the country. I've got him lined up, and then and I'll just stop right there. But we're going to do a deep dive on the question of where are the ducks, because they don't migrate to Louisiana anymore, and I think it goes back to the proverbial, it's about money. It's about money. And
it's about money.
Us poor people, we're not getting a say. We're the ones getting screwed. And anyway.
Yeah. So, folks, if you haven't done it already, do a couple of things for us before we exit the show tonight. Go over to the YouTube channel. Look for Bossier Watch. Go to the Bossier Watch YouTube channel. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. That's number one. Number two, go to the Outdoor News on YouTube and subscribe to that. The easiest way to do it is put the Outdoor News Rex in the search bar, and that'll find it real quickly. Subscribe to that, and then while you're at it, go to Louisiana Watch and subscribe there. That will help us out tremendously as we try to build our social media presence. The other thing is, of course, like and share. And then remember the Proton Mail, because we did get quite a few Proton Mails since the last show. So, the spill there is real simple. Go make you a free Proton Mail account. Don't put any identifying information on it. If you have some information you would like to share with us and want to keep it very anonymous, send it to bossierwatch at Proton Mail, or you can really just send it to our Gmail account as well, bossierwatch@gmail.com. But make that Proton Mail anonymous account first, depending on the information.
Hey, and I will say two more things to add to that, Rex. I called Mike Strain, I think it was yesterday, and Mike is going to be coming on the show. I don't know if we're going to do that on Louisiana Watch, probably Louisiana Watch on a Thursday, to talk about a lot of the things that, his office does across the state. It applies if you're in the timber industry or agriculture. That affects so much of all of our lives and business. And they regulate a lot of things. You have solar power plants trying to come in and displace sugarcane fields, trying to displace just cotton, different agricultural things. You got a lot of different things. You got utility companies coming in, wiping out properties and timber, through eminent domain. Um, people are saying, like, well, why is that important? So let's say that some of y'all may own some timberland or some farmland, or some family land that you had. Well, you've got eminent domain coming in and just taking your property, and they're building a power line, a transmission line coming from, say, Texas, going across to Alabama or Mississippi. Well, it's federal, and they just come in and seize your property. They're building this, and there ain't nothing you can do. And what's happening is Alabama and Mississippi, rather than building solar mandated or each state having to have so much, they're just buying the solar generated electricity from a state that's got the solar panels or whatever, or the renewable energy, and just having it, sent to them by the power lines through there. That way they can meet their requirement. That's the way I understand it. And it's kind of a technical deal, and you've got some people who are down in the trenches like Mike Strain, that it's fights that we don't even know about are happening, and that I highly respect Mike Strain. I think he's probably one of the smartest guys we have in government in Louisiana. And I think you all would really appreciate listening to some of the things that he would share. So whenever we get him on Louisiana Watch, y'all really need to come over and listen to that. I think you'll be enlightened.
Be a very interesting show. I'm not even sure what all the Department of Agriculture does. I know they're involved in scales. That was a whole controversy in bass fishing lately, which you can find out about on the Outdoor News. So maybe I'll ask him some about that. What else the Department of Agriculture is responsible for? That's interesting about the power lines.
Yeah, and hey, another thing in addition to helping us share the show out and get the message, Rex, and you may can explain it in more detail. Hey, y'all can do us a favor too by just going, I think, clicking in your friends list and sharing the show. Invite your friends to like the show. That'll get more people in here.
You can absolutely do that. Send it to them in a direct Facebook message. Facebook actually puts a little more weight on those direct messages. There are all kinds of little things that you can do to help us out. We are still growing. We're over 6,200 followers now. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And heck, we're just now falling down to about 55, 60-ish people. So we've had a pretty good following tonight too.
Hey, and tell me again, how many dollars have we spent ever advertising the show?
$0 on this show so far. 0. Well, with the exception of the one debate that we had a sponsor for it, we did spend a little bit of boosting for that debate. That's the one exception to it.
That's right. That's right.
So other than that, it's all been Organic and word of mouth.
Because of all of y'all. That's right,
That's
organic, because of everybody watching this show. So the success of this show is all based on y'all.
Yep. And we appreciate each and every one of you. Mr. Lowry, I am out of things to say.
Me too. Good night. Thanks everybody for watching. See y'all next week.